EC Comics, the Rockstar Games of the 1950s. Had some of the best science fiction comics ever published. Time travel, rocket ships, bug-eyed monsters, robots, Ray Bradbury. Weird science and weird fantasy had it all. While technically the same writers, artists, and quality of story, ultimately I prefer weird fantasy. I can't explain it other than personal preference. Science fiction comics published some of the finest Ray Bradbury adaptations ever made. There was a multi-issue storyline of I, Robot. I, Robot is far different than the Will Smith movie. They also adapted other stories in these comics. EC Comics had the best artists in the business and consistently created some of the best comic book covers ever published. These comics are great reads for science fiction fanatics and purveyors of Atom Punk. They had such talented artists as Wally Wood, the legendary Wally Wood. The science fiction mags also had a penchant for BEMs, or bug-eyed monsters. Masterfully designed creatures, both unique and grotesque. The rocket ship stories are great because these were published before we went to the moon. It's great to read stories from a pre-moon landing perspective, seeing what they got right and what they got wrong. Very interesting stuff. In weird fantasy is a story called Judgment Day, a comic book story that is the best representation of racial injustice I've read since Huck Finn. The science fiction mags were good, and the people at EC enjoyed making them. However, they consistently lost money. To save money, they combined the titles Weird Science and Weird Fantasy into Weird Science Fantasy. The science mag continued until the Comics Code forbid the word weird from appearing on covers. The title changed once again into Incredible Science Fiction. The last story was censored, so people at EC included a reprint of Judgment Day. It was rejected because beads of sweat on a black man's skin. Bill Gaines threatened a lawsuit and left the comic book industry. He took Mad Comics and made Mad Magazine. And that is the story, but here's a quick list of EC comics. Tales from the Crypt, The Vault of Horror, The Haunt of Fear, Weird Science, Weird Fantasy, Weird Science Fantasy, Incredible Science Fiction, Two-Fisted Tales, Frontline Combat, Shock Suspense Stories, Crime Suspense Stories, War Against Crime, Piracy, Aces High, Valor, Saddle Justice, Mad Magazine, Spy vs. Spy. Anyway, this is Holland Timmons, otherwise known as the Astari, telling you to like, comment, subscribe, read my book, Assassin of the Cross, twice bestseller, and yeah, take care. This is the Astari signing off.